Well, hello, Ultra Racing fans, and welcome to the 2016 Race Across America Daily Recap Show. I'm sitting here with Lee Kreider from the Ohio Ram Show. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well.
Perfect.
Doing pretty well.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to talk about some time stations here in Ohio, and we got the back of the pack. It's still making its way to Annapolis, but you know what? We've got some winners too. So, stick around. This episode is brought to you by Suffer Better. Well, welcome back. And Lee, I know that you've been putting on the Ohio Ram Show for a little while now. We were talking about what's involved. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got started and what motivates you?
Actually, we got started because we had these two time stations and our helpers spread all over Southwest Ohio, and we started video conferencing with using Google Hangouts. And then they started doing this Hangouts on air, and someone kind of pinned me with the idea of trying to do a show around it. So we started. We didn't know what we were doing. Stumbled along. The McFaddens, who run this time station, was my guinea pigs, the first guest, and it's grown from there. We have a small audience, but a dedicated audience, and we say it's about cycling and ultra cycling, and that these two time stations are essentially our father and mother.
They're your home bases in a way.
Home base, yeah.
Well, one thing that I really appreciate about Ohio is when you drive through, there's a sign at almost every turn helping the riders and teams determine where to go.
Well, and that's all due to one fellow over in Oxford, Mike Minium. He started that idea. It's grown. We've started to get some very generous contributions, some from riders and some from other people, and people can come to our time stations, either one of them. For $10, they get a sign. For a souvenir, they can put their get autographs on it, and that puts two more signs out on the road because we lose about a third of them every year.
Oh, is that right?
It takes about 250 signs to cover this route.
Okay, well, very cool. Well, I'll tell you, while we were out on route, we got an opportunity to interact with some crews that have some pretty nice setups. We saw that team of Abana. They've got this bus that's out of this world. So we're going to show you a little bit about what they do in their off time.
The first advice we got was just get over the Rockies and get through the heat, which was unrelenting. I've never cycled in that heat. And some of the climbs, I said to a marshal, are these the big ones of the day? He said, you ain't begin yet. It was a big climb in the heat. And then the top of the Rockies was ice cold. You know, to go from 120 in the desert to high 30s up on the mountains. And then it just never stops. You don't sleep and you just keep pedaling it.
Because the minute I get comfortable, then the physio makes it uncomfortable for me.
So is that acupuncture?
Yeah, electroacupuncture.
Yeah. How is that going to help you, or what's going on there?
It's going to improve the condition of his knee joint, take a bit of the pain away too.
Very good. How do you feel about it? Does it work?
It's getting better, so we've been treating it after every ride, getting a lot better. So every day, I've adjusted my saddle slightly to accommodate, but yeah.
Yeah, so the needles are acting like surgical steel electrodes into the muscle there, and they're conducting a current at 80 hertz right across his knee in 3 seconds.
That's great. That's cool.
Healthy food.
That's right.
This is our nutritionist.
Hi. How are you doing?
Good. How's your experience been?
It's been amazing. Very tiring. Working with limited equipment, but it's been awesome. We've been feeding all 18 of our crew, so it's been a challenge, but good.
And it's always healthy like this?
Always. Sometimes they sneak off for a pizza or two, but
Actually, I was just about to say, we're the crisps.
Yeah. But not the riders. Always healthy.
We have four for the 4 riders and a couple of spare complete bikes and probably a full bike shop's worth of spare components.
So what's it like to maintain all these bikes?
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, these have this is a lube service really, and I do these every 8 hours every time the riders come off. So these 2 bikes here are the most serviced bikes on the whole race probably, unless there's someone doing a similar job on another team. Brace yourself, Sheila.
Nicely done.
There we go.
Good stuff.
Thank you. This is the torture chamber.
Now, does everyone have to do this or just you?
It's the guy who cracks the worst jokes. So Team Abana is set up by 4 blokes. We're all based in the UK, but we are 2 of us are South African. I'm South African. We got a Zimbabwean and we got a guy from the UK. And we try to raise money for a charity called Chance for Childhood, which is an incredible cause. Takes kids off the street in Africa and gives them a chance at life. And whether they've been kid soldiers, where they've just been left on the street, and educating them. And I'm a firm believer, and I've always been, that any country's success is the success of its kids. And if you can change these kids' lives, and we've managed so far to raise about $170,000. And when you go to Africa, which you must do, it goes a long way there. We hope we want to take the money and either build a school, build a couple of schools out there, and just make a difference. Those kids are suffering. We're suffering now, but this is short term. Those kids suffer a long time.
Well, folks, it's official. We have racers crossing the finish line, specifically the top solos. Pierre Bischoff came over first with a time of 9 days, 17 hours, and 9 minutes. That's 13.16 miles per hour. Now, the top American, or second place, was Dave Haase, who came in with 9 days, 23 hours, and 28 minutes. That's 12.82 miles per hour. I don't know if you noticed, but this year wasn't exactly a fast year. In fact, this was the slowest year since Lon Haldeman completed the race in both 83 and 84. The only other time that was slower was when Ram had the Enduro division in 2006, and Jock Boyer that year was just a little bit slower than our average speed. Now, some people want to speculate, why was that? Some people would like to say, well, there wasn't enough competition at the front. I think it might have had something to do with the extreme heat wave that we experienced in the desert and the Southwest. I can only guess, but, well, we'll see what happens next year. Now, in the female division, the ladies are still plugging away. Nicole Reese has reached time station 45, which is 2,700 miles into the race, and her average speed is 11.24 miles per hour. The other solo female in the race is Shauna Hogan. Now, Shauna Hogan isn't as far ahead as Nicole, but I'll tell you what, she is fighting every step of the way. We ran into her last night, and I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you, she was on the verge. She was on the verge of quitting, but she sucked it up, got some inner fortitude, and she is back on course. And from what I understand, she's still ahead of us. We've been trying to catch her today. So we wish you the best of luck, Shauna. We want to see you cross that finish line and break that 50-plus record. Now, a lot of hills here, these really, I guess, steep but short.
Gotta take it easy, that's for sure. I've been babying my knees because I want to make it, you know?
That's perfect. You know, I love seeing guys like that on the side of the road. We've really got a lot of Americana today. I'll tell you what, this is a beautiful part of the country. You know, when we're going through that part of Ohio where they have all the signs, well, I guess we're still there.
Yeah, we're still in Ohio. There's a sign up there, I think.
Did you enjoy that ride?
Oh, yeah. I love the support from all the people in Ohio. They're great people. The time stations are always great. Kids make signs. It's great.
So now in the team division, the first team to cross the finish line was Team Working Nation. They had a time of 5 days, 19 hours, and 37 minutes. That's 21.98 miles per hour. Now the first 8-person team to cross the line was Team DMS. They had 5 days, 20 hours, and 6 minutes. That's 21.91 miles per hour. We still have our 2-person teams out on route, and we will be catching up with them tomorrow to see just how they're doing. Well, speaking of being out on route, we are out on route today in Ohio, and it's got some really neat time stations. In fact, you saw the interview we had earlier with Lee Kreider, and they really put a lot of effort into supporting the Ram riders here. So let's take a look at what it's like to ride your bike through Ohio.
hospice. We are raising funds and awareness for hospice organizations all the way across the United States while we're racing.
Why is that important to you?
Because I feel like I represent families that are affected by the loss of loved ones. And hospice is an organization that can come in and actually, you know, make a really tough time just a little bit less difficult. And so I'm doing this in memory of my dad who died last year.
It's more of a social event for the community because usually the riders do not stop, but the support people stop for directions, for food, or for McDonald's, or just to rest. So it's just fun for us.
Yeah, it looks great.
Here we go, guys. All right. Down there. Out.
Just try to help the riders out any way we can. We ride too, so we know the importance of the support. So we can offer them food, drinks, anything they might need, support. That's pretty much sums it up.
Now, I noticed that this time station is pink.
Pink.
Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, there was a fellow riding, and he was riding in for his wife who had breast cancer. So he asked if we would pink it out for him, and so we did. And unfortunately, he DNF'd, but yeah. So anyway, the support's here. People appreciated it, and it's went over big. Everybody likes the color, so it's bright and it stands out. So it did its purpose, yes.
Ahead of the British military team.
USA.
We told them about that, and they were a little concerned. They weren't exactly concerned, but how'd you do that?
We just the Brits gave them to us.
You know, they're an awesome team, though. They're a great group of guys. You know, we high five every time we trade off, and you know, so they're trying really hard to get across, and so are we. We just keep leapfrogging, and now we have a little bit of a lead, so it is what it is. It can change. You know, we've made some mistakes, and they've made some mistakes, so we'll just... But we're almost there. Right now we're on the home stretch, so... Okay.
All right, folks, with teams and solos crossing the finish line, let's check out the leaderboard. So there you go, folks. That's the end of our show. And wrapping up from Time Station 42 in Blanchester, Ohio, we'll see you out there.